I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, January the 3rd, 2020. We've got a new quarter and a new year. That's responsible for most of the losses we saw on the board for Thursday as you have your speculators, your funds rearranging things, and that's a typical kind of a thing we see at the start of a new year. Here in North Platte, Nebraska, I had a speaking engagement with Lincoln County Cattlemen's meeting there in North Platte, and want to thank Kyle Lehman and North Platte Stockyards for having me come up and speak to that crowd. Had a good crowd of over 100 people there and met a lot of good people there and Feeder Flash gang members, and it's always good to see those people. Look at the board on Thursday. February live cattle futures down 15 cents at 125.77. You know, we lost December there. April down 70 cents at 126.47, but still trading at a premium to what your February is. And then we drop off $8 about as we go off from April to June. January feeder cattle down 67 cents at 144.65. March down 50 cents at 143.72. Your fat cattle trade is going to be higher. We have not established it yet. We had that New Year's holiday right in the middle of the week, so that's kind of slowed things down a little bit, but we're starting to see a little bit of trade take place in the northern plains and in the Midwest where they're short of market-ready cattle. All of a sudden we see that there are definitely short of cattle, and your packers know it and they're going after them. In Iowa, we saw 2,200 head confirmed on Thursday, 125 live and 198 dress. That would be $3 higher for both. And that's going to be the struggle, trying to get the southern plains to advance that much, because we had a 122 trade last week. And 125 might be a stretch for the southern plains as they've got more ample market-ready cattle in the north, but your packers are sure going after them up in the Midwest and the northern plains. Nebraska had a few sales, 198 dress, and that was $3 higher, of course, too. Box beef cutout values. It's been kind of a slow trade here, and we're thinking that a lot of your beef purchasers have not really come back into the market from the Christmas break and the New Year's trade there, but they will be coming back in next week, but just kind of a slow trade. Choice cuts down Thursday, 117 at 208.25, and select cuts up 51 cents at 202.63. And that continues to narrow your choice select spread. It's at 562 now on pretty minimal trade there, but when you get that narrow choice select spread, that hurts your guys that send the cattle in on the grid. Not as big of premiums for your better cattle. Your slaughter during this holiday week through Thursday, 340,000, which seems kind of minimal, but still it was 23,000 more than the same week a year ago. Actual slaughter come in for the week ending December 14th, had your dressed steer carcasses at 904 pounds. Look at your feeder cattle trade, which is still kind of slow, but we're starting to see more sales come in the mix, and we'll be back to business for sure next week, but got a few sales that we're selling several cattle on Thursday here after the new year. But your real-time index is starting to settle in now. We're starting to get enough quotes in there to get a feel for that, and it's still trading almost $1 higher than what your nearby feeder cattle futures are, but at 145.46. That was down $1.57, but like I said, it's juking and jiving and trying to get back in line with things with a little more volume included in there. Joplin Regional Stockyards had their weanback special. They were only calling for 7,000 head and ended up with 8,400. So you see guys that were kind of holding cattle until the 2020 year, and they're anxious to sell those cattle on a higher market, and it's pretty significant that they ended up with 1,400 more cattle than they was thinking just several days ago. But not a good comparison, as it's a weanback special. You got bigger bunches, more uniform and larger consignments, and hard to compare after the holidays, and you haven't had a weanback for a while, and long ways back to even a regular sale. But you look at some of the weighted averages. Light 7-weight steers averaged at 147.68. That's not too bad. Heavy 7-weight steers averaging at 146.53. And just over 200 head of light 8-weight steers and that means 8 to 850 pounds, averaging actually higher than your heavy 7s at 146.74, with one load of light 8-weight steers up to 150.5, and that's a pretty good quote there. Look at an individual quote out of Joplin Regional Stockyards for the Weanback Special. 138 head of steers weighed 699, or right at 700 pounds, at $161. That's a pretty impressive quote. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas, had 3,400 head on Thursday. Compared to the last sale back before the holidays, feeder steers looked $1 to $2 higher. Feeder heifers sure had a higher undertone, but really kind of hard to test. Mitchell, South Dakota had a good sale there, 4,700 head. And we always talk about Mitchell selling those big, heavy, backgrounded feeder cattle that don't take much time, and they can make the April board, especially when they're weighing 1075. Like 110 head string of them weighed 1075 at 138.10. That's your feeder flash for Friday.